Howdy freeze dryers, we're picking up with another freeze dried snack video today. Today we're gonna do 25 pounds of Danjou pears. I think that's how you say it. These pears are the perfect ripeness right now, which is really important for pears if you're freeze drying them. I'm gonna show you some tips and tricks today. So let's get into this. Let's freeze dry some pears. So just like many other fruits, you want the ripeness to be just perfect before you freeze dry. It's gonna really increase that flavor, and actually freeze drying a lot of things actually increases the sweetness or sourness or spiciness on things. Pears are no exception to that. First thing we need to do is process these 25 pounds, and nothing complex about processing these pears. You will want to soak them, wash them. I'm gonna take the cores out of mine today. You actually don't have to take the cores out, depending on how you process them down to before you freeze dry them. I'm gonna take the cores out just by kind of putting these in quarters, and I'll take the main part of the core out. And these make great food for the compost worms. You can actually, when you dehydrate or freeze dry, you can leave the cores in. You just wanna get the seeds out of there. One thing that you need to consider when you're doing pears is pears are one of those fruits that start to brown, just like a banana or potatoes do it. So you want to prevent them from browning before you freeze dry. There's an easy way to do that. You can either take just a little bit of lemon juice and mix it with a little bit of water, and then you can actually spray this on there. That will prevent it from browning. Otherwise, you can also do the same thing in a container of water and just dip them in the container of water. You can do that before or after you process them. I think I'm going to cut mine up into quarters and then process them and then put them on the tray. After it's on the tray, I'll then spray them with my sprayer of lemon juice. And then once you have them quartered, I just run them through a food processor. If your food processor is adjustable, I would adjust them to make a chip thickness. You don't want them to be too thin. You also don't want them to be too thick. If they're too thick, they're gonna take a long time to freeze dry, and pears are pretty moisture filled. You have to get that right thickness. And then once they are sliced, just put them right onto the tray. I'm going on to pre-cut parchment, and you'll see why once we are done with this. Everything will peel up nicely, and it will just make it a lot easier to bag up that way as well. So we're just gonna take and make these spread out. You don't have to do them so they're just one thick, but you don't want them too thick or they will get some soft spots, and they'll be really hard to chase down what's fully freeze dried and what is not. And then once they're processed, that's when I like to hit them with the lemon water. It doesn't take a whole lot. You don't want it to have sour pears. But every time you cut a pear, you're gonna have a brown spot there. So I wait till they're fully processed, then I put the lemon juice on. I also like to leave the skin on mine. That's up to you whether or not you wanna do that. If you have a really bitter skinned pear, you might wanna leave it off, but most pears are fine, I have found, to just leave the skin on. So another thing you're gonna wanna do to keep them from browning is get them cooled right away. So I'm not pre-freezing mine because I don't pre-freeze in the XL trays. I don't have anything that will hold the XL trays because they're huge. So I'm just gonna put them right into the freeze dryer. Even though the freeze dryer just turned on, it will keep them from browning just because it is starting to cool. So the key here is thickness of your material that you're putting onto these trays. And it really just kind of boils down to how much babysitting you want to do on the freeze dryer. To me, I like to just set it in and just kind of walk away until it's done. Maybe add dry time one time if I have to, but I don't like to play the game of chase down the soft spot to make sure that everything's fully done. There's really no definitive answer on too much or too little, but it is going to change how much you have to watch the freeze dryer or how many times you have to add dry time. Especially in an XL or a large where you're doing a large quantity of food, you might get one tray that's totally done. You might have another tray that needs 6 more hours of dry time. And something that has as much moisture as pears, you're gonna get a big variation in whether or not it's done. So as a point of reference, I'm doing 10 to 12 pears on each XL tray. You can do less, you can do more. To me, this makes the cycle go a lot faster, and it makes a lot less work for me in the long run. But that's how full I'm getting mine with 10 to 12 pears on an XL tray. All right, and there's my last tray in the XL. My XL only holds 6 trays, most hold 7. This was 25 pounds of pears. I would say 30 or 32 pounds in a 7 tray XL would be totally fine. The tips, tricks, and recipe in this video can be found at freezedryingcookbook.com, as well as over 300 other recipes. If you don't want to go the subscription-based route, you can do a hard copy version. We have a volume 1 and a volume 2 of the freeze drying cookbook as well. We are using Harvest Right freeze dryers today. We've been using Harvest Right for over 6 years now. If you would like specs, pricing, or you're ready to purchase a Harvest Right freeze dryer, please consider using our affiliate link that can be found down in the description of this video. That greatly helps out this little YouTube channel, and it helps us do giveaways in our social media groups, Facebook group and MeWe group, and you can find those at Retired at 40's freeze drying group. Any freeze drying accessories you've seen in this video or other videos, including parchment paper, stackers, silicone, dividers, food funnels, lids, any of that stuff can be found at freezedryingsupplies.com. We develop those products. We're really trying to streamline the entire freeze drying process from start to finish. And the last thing I ask of you before we get back to our freeze dried pears is, if you have not subscribed to Live Life Simple, please take a second to do that now. And while you're there, click the bell to get notifications of future videos. We put those out Sundays at 8 a.m. And if you like the content we're putting out, let us know by giving us a thumbs up. So this has been in for about 34 hours, so that should get us where we want to be. Everything looks nice and dry, crisp. Let's take a peek at it and then we will bag it up. So pears are one of those fruits that are really tricky. It's hard to tell if they are completely done. So I always say, if in doubt, I would add more time. Pears are kind of one of the fruits that they'll stay spongy. You want them to be super crispy, but they still will feel a little bit spongy. I hate to say that, but maybe a little bit soft even when they're completely done. Pears are also one of the fruits that I would say are more on the short-term storage side, just because of that. Usually they're very high sugar, so they almost have a dehydrated texture when they're done instead of a freeze-dried texture. Recently I took some of these with me on my travels, and these were great in the car. It gives you a nice crunch and crisp like a chip does, but obviously much healthier, and it fills you up. I hope you found today's video helpful, and if you did, let us know by giving us a thumbs up. In the meantime, remember to live life simple, and we'll catch you next week.